Are we live?
We're live.
All right, good.
Um, okay.
So the question that came from Discord, do we want to add that into the show or do we want to just do that at the beginning and just, or what do you want to do?
It's up to you.
I mean, it
I
doesn't
think it's
matter.
great. We could do it as a pre-show, and then that's why when you get to ask questions that come in between episodes, we could do that as a little follow-up. That's fun.
Yeah. Okay, let's do that.
Okay. Well, that means like right now. That means like let's do
Yeah,
it.
we have to do it right now. We have to talk
Oh,
about the question that came
there's
in from
just
Discord.
so much going on. Okay, so the question, this was a question from a Discord member. Thank you for writing in, Maeve. Glad you're here. And it's, do shall I just read it? I should just
I
read
think
it.
you should read it because I think you're
Just
going
read
to
the
be a
whole
much
thing.
better reader than I am. So,
Okay.
yeah, clear that throat.
I've just returned to study, postgraduate study, and it's all online. I've looked through podcasts I could find relating to study, but I'm wondering if you've ever discussed transitioning into a system heavy environment that's so sequential and multi-layered that it's really difficult to estimate the time things will take. Even with an additional ADHD, this will take longer buffer. Um, Maybe that's accommodations, ADHD accommodations. I don't know. I'm trying to plan study with life tasks and that support study, and it's proving chest tightening. I receive so many emails from varying departments that I know are meant to guide and assist my study that have multiple links to take me to separate department pages. It's like it appears to be 2D communication, but then it becomes 3D with hidden alcoves and trap doors and the varying timed security protocols. Ugh. Um,
She's a storyteller,
yeah, I know.
or he, they.
I have to remind myself that before diagnosis, albeit over 10 years ago, I was on the dean's list, undiagnosed, unmedicated, but I think I was pretty adaptive by attending classes and clarifying whatever I was uncertain about. Online is challenging me in ways I hadn't even considered a challenge before. I'm trying to mind map information sources, key points in why the information is offered, how it relates to what I'm learning, and when it applies. But I've been iPhone dependent for years now, and I'm back on a PC and just navigating tabs, opening the one I need and not closing everything at once. It's all adding to the overwhelm. Okay, that's the question. What do you got, Coach?
Well, I love the fact that she's mind mapping the information sources because that's the very first thing I would have offered as a suggestion
Yeah.
is like figure out like what are the different systems that are coming in inboxes that we call, right? Like what are the
Mm-hmm.
different inboxes and mapping it out so you can visually see, what is coming. So I
Yeah.
love that. I noticed that you put some really great notes here too from you. One of the things you said here was reframe the overwhelm, and I'm curious what you mean by that.
Well, I think we've already got some of that in here, right? Like this, the line that stuck out to me was, I'm trying to mind map information sources, key points in why the information is offered, right?
Mhm.
It's overwhelmed because it's a lot, but as soon as you start sort of mentally and I say physically tagging information with why someone thought it was important for you to understand, then you can kind of make sense of the buckets. Like you're going to get a lot of stuff that's
Mm.
administrative in nature, right? There's stuff that comes from
Mhm.
deans, there's stuff that comes from
Different professors, yeah.
yeah, but different offices. The administrative stuff you can put in one bucket. And maybe you think I'm going to deal with administrivia once a week. Like maybe I'll do that on
Mhm.
Saturday. But then you have stuff that comes from specific professors, and some of it's going to be related to, your thesis. Some of it's going to be related to ongoing, reading. Some of it's going to be related to, and as you start to tag, kind of in your head, this information is, and I say that very loosely, in your head. I mean, like literally, let's tag it. Let's put it
Yeah.
in the right buckets, folders. That say this is something. Then you could start saying this tag, this item, this bucket, I have to deal with Monday morning. This is something that's so important and immediate that I have to deal
Right.
with Monday morning, and let everything else go until it's time to deal with that bucket. And then you're reframing overwhelm into structure, right? It's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of information, we know, but as soon as you call it overwhelm, it becomes overwhelming. Once you apply some structure to it, you can remove the emotion from feeling overwhelmed and let it,
Actually start taking some action, right? Like
yeah,
that's what you're
yeah,
saying. Yeah, I love that.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's great, Pete. That is like words of wisdom from Pete Wright over there in
Well,
Oregon.
and I'll tell you, and we're going to talk a little bit about this. So much of what of what I used to do when I was teaching at the university
Hmm.
in postgraduate study was, and I taught online, was to consider how the stuff that I'm sending out is going to be received by the students, because I'm aware of what it feels like to be overwhelmed in graduate study. I know that feeling,
Right.
and it sucks. So the more I can tag my outgoing signal to students as, this is Monday morning important, this
Hmm.
is final assignment important, this is midterm important, right? The
Hmm.
easier it is for me to help them attenuate their own buckets and really
Right.
understand what's important today. And I think we have a lot of instructors even today, but particularly adjuncts, who are working their, working jobs. Like higher education, postgraduate education is changing pretty dramatically. So you have these instructors who are not full-time professors, and they haven't
Right.
taught for 15 years, and they don't necessarily remember what it was like in their own grad school experience. And they just shove everything at you and
Hmm.
assume it's your job to do that sort of tagging of the
Hmm.
information that they send you. You get to parse it. You're an adult. You're in post-grad, study. Let's go ahead and trust you to do it right. But the point is, this is high, postgraduate education is not exclusively a test of organization, right? It's
Right.
more important, I think, that you get the content and are able to proceed with your professional study and a line of academic inquiry than it
Hmm.
is that that I make it hard for you to figure out how to do that, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so I think we have to understand that some professors don't necessarily think that way. We wish they did,
Hmm.
and this is your effort to adapt to that.
Hmm. Hmm. Love it. Well, talk about tab management real quick before we get into the show, because that's another piece that was dropped here.
Oh yeah, tab management. So I tabs are hard. We did a whole episode that the second half of the episode was on tab management, but it was really about one app, and the app is One Tab. It's a plugin you can get for Chrome, you can get it for just about everything. And what it does is it takes all of your tabs that are open and it saves it into one like HTML page that opens on your computer. And so all of your tabs become a list of links that you can then click later. And what I recommend is you can create multiple sort of one tabs. You can have 2 one tabs or 5 one tabs. You could open all the tabs for one course and save it as a one tab, and that becomes like a launch bar or a launch page for all of the resources that you need for that class. So I say tab management is a skill, right?
Hmm.
And the tool that you need to adapt with that skill is, one tab. It's a
Yeah,
wrench. It's a spanner.
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the
Um,
question. This was good.
yeah.
I always
That's a
like,
great question.
we haven't done this in a while. We should ask for more questions from people.
Send more
It's fun.
questions. You know
Send more
what? This
questions.
is what you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a button on, I'm going to put a button on the
Put a
page where you
button
can
somewhere.
submit questions because, well, I don't know, because we have Discord. Like Discord's where questions come in. We just need to be looking for them. Oh, this
And
is going
and
to
I
be a
think
real
people need to
thing.
know that it's okay to ask questions and
Yeah.
that we'll answer them on the and not
Yeah.
because it's easier because the reason I did it this way than to write back
Because it's a
is it's
long
so much
question.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's so much easier for you and I to talk about it than to try
Hmm.
to write it out.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Totally.
I like it. Put a button somewhere.
All right. We'll find a place for a button and then we'll start answering more questions.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Should we do a real podcast?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on True Story FM. I'm Pete Wright, and right there is Nikki Kinzer, front of the class.
Ah, yes. I'm a studious student.
Welcome to season 31 of this
Right?
ye old ADHD podcast.
That's right.
Oh, that's
Welcome.
very exciting.
31.
31. It's not really a thing you can do when you're 31 that you couldn't do when you're 30. That's disappointing. All right.
New opportunities, though. New doors.
This one
go
is sorry. This one is, we're talking about school. We're talking about college. You've got some new stuff that you're doing with regard to college and planning. We're going to talk about that. And we are going to talk specifically about what it means to go back to school as an adult college student and figure out how to succeed with your ADHD. Before we dive in, don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. We're at Take Control ADHD everywhere. And if you like what you hear and want more of it, extended episodes, live streams, member-only content, head over to patreon.com/the ADHD podcast and join our incredible community of supporters. You can also visit us at takecontroladhd.com to learn more about our coaching programs, workshops, and resources built just for you. And now, college planning.
Yes. Welcome.
Welcome to college planning. So this is the big one, right? Like this is the big meta skill. The big meta skill.
It's pretty crucial.
It's pretty crucial. If you don't have this game locked down, it's you're asking for some trouble. So let's put some thought into it.
Absolutely, because never are you going to be in a space. Well, I shouldn't say never. Maybe some jobs could be like this for sure. Well, let me just start that over because that we're first podcast, folks. We're editing. There's no doubt about it. We are going to be editing. Okay, we're going to start over. So, Pete Wright.
Yes.
It is very see, I need to gather my thoughts.
Okay.
I love that the people get to see this. This is so embarrassing.
Get to see real thinking.
Yeah.
So we're talking about planning. We're talking about planning, and we want to talk about. We want to offer some strategies today.
Yes.
For helping you plan with ADHD.
Right.
Okay.
Because in the academic setting, there are so many deadlines and milestones. And as we mentioned in this question that was asked from one of our members, a lot of incoming information is coming in. Yeah. There's a lot to organize. There's a lot to manage. You've got your academics, but you got your social life. And if you're an undergraduate and you're on the younger side, you probably have a really big social life that you have to manage. If you're a graduate student, you didn't have that.
Life. No.
Yeah. See, I experienced that now with my daughter being in school. Like she has a lot of managing that she's doing.
She's so much more popular than I ever was in college. Like an order of magnitude more popular.
Yeah, she's very social. She likes to be out there with the people. So, but then we also talk about, I work with a lot of graduate students who tend to be a little more serious about their academics at that point. But that's a lot of pressure too, because the classes are harder. They're more in depth, right? But there's so much to manage. And so that's why it's such a crucial skill for college students is that you have to learn how to plan your week. You need to be able to look ahead. You need to know what you're doing today. It's really important. And we want to offer some help.
Well, and I want to throw in just a little bit of grist for the mill in this conversation, because we're talking in the member pre-show, we answered this question about a lot of information coming in. The other side of that is also true, depending on what class you're going to take, that the biggest peril that you face is the fact that there aren't a lot of deadlines. Maybe there's just a final or a final project.
Yeah. Oh, that throws you for a loop.
Else between
Yeah.
start day of a course and end day of a course. And so I want to make sure we sort of embrace both ends of that particular spectrum because they're
Well,
both hard for ADHD.
you bring up a good point too, because we have people. I've worked with people who are studying for LSATs and things
Hmm.
like that, right? Like there is no structure there on how to study for a big test like that. So
Right.
this definitely comes into play too. Is how do you plan for that in a way that is benefiting you? So
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So a lot of what we're going to talk about today, I have to talk about our book, of course, because Unapologetically ADHD, we break down planning. And one of the things that we talk about is your work box, right? So this is
Yeah.
where your work is living. And this is what we have to think about in the college setting is what are your essential planning tools when you're a college student? What is your college work box? And so we want to identify what your needs are, what your preferences are. It's interesting because even though a lot of the students that I work with, they grew up with technology, right? They know the phone better than me,
Hmm.
not you. You probably know it pretty darn well, but like definitely better than me. But they still like paper. They still like the whiteboard. They still like that, hand to paper. I need to know what I'm doing today. So you gotta as an individual, you have to figure out like what works for you. My daughter's in college right now. She likes having a weekly paper planner. She has a friend who is dialed into Notion, and
Hmm.
man, is she dialed into it. And
Yeah.
so, everyone's different, right? So we got to identify what works for you, what tools you resonate with. The main ones that we want to focus on is, of course, your calendar, how you're taking notes, how are you managing the tasks that you have to do. And then most schools, I don't know of any school that doesn't have a learning management system
Not
that
anymore.
they
Yeah.
yeah,
If it's
most schools
Moodle
do.
or Canvas
Canva,
or
or is it
Canva's the
Canva?
design tool. It's
Canvas.
Canvas.
Canvas. I
Yeah,
always get them
Moodle,
mixed up.
Canvas. Yeah, there are a ton of them, but those are the
Yes.
big two,
Yeah.
um, and
And so
they're
you got to learn
yeah.
that because that is a huge inbox. That's going to be a partner
Well, the
for
thing
you.
about it is it's also a workbox, right? And that's what
Right. Oh, for
you
sure.
you have to separate because there are many of the course discussion threads are going to be in in these platforms, and so you're going to have to
Mhm.
know these inside and out. And I really recommend investing, like marking in your calendar. Spend 2 hours learning, watching YouTube
Mhm.
videos, become an advanced user of these LMS platforms, these learning
Yeah,
management systems. It is
absolutely.
huge.
It's how professors are updating you,
Yep.
and things change all the time. That's
Right.
the thing too that I definitely have noticed is that what the syllabus says at the beginning, it changes. And so if you're not in class to hear the change or you missed it because you were distracted, it's going to end up being in that LMS or
Yeah.
LMS system, the learning
Right.
management system. Um, so yes, I think that that's where you start, right? Is you really figure out first what are the tools you need, and then figuring out how they work together. And a lot of the students that go ahead.
Well, I just want to throw in because I realized a bit of frustration that I had actually as a parent.
Oh, sure.
Because when you're a parent, especially through high school, you get these things. There are LMSs for high schools now too, right?
Right.
All the kids are in these similar platforms, and we would have other teachers who decided we're not going to use that. Like the language teacher was like, no, I'm going to use my own thing, and
That
it's going
still
to be Google
happens.
Classroom, right? Well, that can happen in college too. It can happen in grad school
Absolutely.
where your teachers are like, you know what, I have a different thing. I've been teaching for 30 years and I do it this way too. All I'm saying about learn the system is learn whatever system is presented. If your professor
Right.
comes to you and says, I'm using a Google Classroom, learn that too. And yes, it's a burden at the beginning of the term, but it's a burden you only have to take on once, right?
Mhm.
Learn
Mhm.
it, you'll use it and move forward. So that's it.
Mhm.
That's the big
Mhm.
footnote caveat. It sucks and you just got to do it.
Yeah, yeah. So for visual thinkers, which most ADHDers are, one of the things when we talk about paper and we talk about what do you need around your room, your walls, that large wall calendar, that
Oh yeah.
shows you the whole semester. Um, I love colorful sticky notes for movable reminders, like for little things that you need to do today. Put a sticky note on your computer so you don't forget, right? We need those things because you might ignore the alarm on your phone, but you're not going to ignore the big red sticky note that's on top of your laptop. Whiteboard systems are great. I've had many students who go get a huge whiteboard and will figure out, like, what are your tasks for the week and what are your important due dates and write them down. Even though they're on the calendar, we're still writing them down on that visual whiteboard too so that they can see it. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. So again, these tools, we just want you to be able to see the semester as a big picture, but then also be able to plan your day and week with, whether that's a weekly pad or it's a Todoist or whatever it is that
Right.
you use. We want to be able to see big picture and small picture.
Yes.
Yes. Are we ready for the next spot or next section, or do you have more to add?
Well, when are we
I
going to
think you have
talk
more
about
to add.
when are we going to talk about taking notes?
Oh, let's talk about that later
Okay. All right.
because
Then
right
I'm
now we're just planning. We're
yeah,
not
we're just
taking
planning.
notes.
Right.
In fact, that's
Right.
almost a different podcast.
Yeah, but I want to talk about it anyway because it's a different message. This is the so what I want to make sure we introduce at some point is the role of friction in college planning. And
Oh,
I think that's really important to
you're going to edit
know
this
is
out, right? Because we're
well
talking about
not
what
from
we're
what
going to talk about.
I just started and that was what I was going to leave in. So
Okay.
now I'll do it again. So hold on. So in this whole process, we want to be aware of the role of friction and how friction both can support us and can sort of
Stop
hinder
us.
us, right, and stop us,
Yeah.
and where that's important to use that when you're doing your planning, when you're taking, you know. Taking information from all these different inboxes, and that includes your syllabus, which we're going to talk about in a minute. I think it's really important to have your own system, whether that's in Things or Todoist or Notion or whatever it is, that you're doing a lot of copying and pasting, right? That you're taking stuff from one place and putting it in your place, in your words, the way you understand it.
Mm,
Rewrite the assignment in a way that works for you and breaks it down for you. Don't assume that just because everything is in all these inboxes that you're just going to remember to look in all the places where all the signals are, because you're not. You have to go through a little bit of that scut work of just putting stuff in your own system. I think using voice dictation removes friction from that, right? When you just say, I'm going to start dictating tasks very quickly. I'm testing in Todoist right now, an AI tool where you just start talking about all the things that you need to do in one long stream of consciousness, and it creates all the different tasks that it found in that long stream of consciousness for you. Those kinds of things are extremely useful. For me, I think note taking by hand on paper is still really useful, and being able to write notes and then go back and retype them into your system, Notion, wherever it is useful for learning. And so, because part of reframing and typing your own notes in is helping you regurgitate the stuff you learned in class. That's
right.
adding friction to the system versus taking it out, capturing stuff when you need it fast so you don't lose it versus slowing down and really thinking. Those are the two
Mhm.
different sort of ways friction sort of applies for me when I think
Mhm.
about, student success.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I like the fact that what you were highlighting there too is that we can't just assume that everything is going to be in the learning management system and
Hmm.
that it's always going to be there, because you don't remember to always check it. And I can tell you the number of times when I've met with college students on our weekly appointment and we've had to go back in because it wasn't written somewhere else.
Hmm.
And when I ask the question, when is this due? The person doesn't know. And so has to go in and look at it. So there is that friction point. So I'm glad you bring that up because I think that that's a really important key. And as a coach, it makes me think I need to be more aware of that. like, let's make sure it goes
Yeah.
somewhere else too, not
Right.
just depending on that. So yeah, that's a very, very good point.
Thank you.
So one of the things that we have our students do at the very beginning of the semester, and we actually have a new packet or a new service where I'm offering this to students who are looking to plan their semester ahead and they just want that upfront help. And the exercise, most people do it, but they don't always do it fully. Like they get started and then they kind of like, get distracted, which makes sense because you have
Mhm.
ADHD. Of course, that's going to happen. But one of the things we want to do at the very beginning is we want to gather your syllabi from the learning management system, and you want to get your calendars together, and you want to make sure that you're putting the things that are important into your calendar. One of the things that you added here to our outline is, what is the logic of a syllabus? So tell me a little bit more about what you mean by that.
Well, professors have a different sort of have unique systems around syllabus, and a lot of
Hmm.
institutions now, especially the big ones, have standards for professors to follow when preparing a syllabus, and it'll be kind of like a fill in the blanks, right? It includes course policies, course descriptions, includes a schedule but not always a schedule of assignments, right? It used to be but when I went to school, the syllabus was one document and it was huge and it had all of those things plus the entire detailed list of due dates. And it was
Hmm.
very easy to put all those due dates in my system, my, day planner. That's harder to do now. So you have to think through the logic of the syllabus is one, to understand the course you're taking and the objectives that you need to get out of it. If the instructor is saying in this syllabus, I'm going to teach you XYZ, by the end of the course, you need to be able to say, I'm learning XYZ. That gives you an opportunity to map all of the resources that come in to what you're actually purported to learn. I don't know students who, without being told to do this, will do this. I don't know
Hmm.
students who sit down and say, oh, I have assignments to do that meet specific learning objectives. How do I know if I'm successful in teaching or taking a class if I can't at the end of it say, I learned what the syllabus said I was going to learn? So focus on that, because that's the teacher is teaching you how to be successful, right? Is
Hmm.
teaching you what
Hmm.
to do to be successful. And then there's a lot of policies, cheating policies, those kinds of things that are templates, right? That
Right.
of the university or the department.
Hmm.
Then there may be in this document or in a separate document that's attached the schedule of deliverables of the stuff
Hmm.
you're going to have to do. Take these and put them in your own system. Your task
Right.
management system is projects, or your calendar and your calendar. Ideally, they're talking with one another, your calendar and
Right.
your to-do system. Document this stuff manually, copy and paste it, retype it, whatever it is. Do the
Write
work,
it in.
because write it in, because it's just like taking notes. You have to introduce friction so that you internalize all the deliverables up front, so you know what you're working toward.
Hmm.
The number of students who would come to me like, the 8th week of a 12-week class and say, I didn't see this coming, when it was in the syllabus on day one and we
Right.
talked about it on day one. It is frustratingly high, that number.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
you can do yourself a lot of favors by introducing friction to slow down, get through all the boilerplate stuff, and really think through the deliverables. You have to slow down and figure out what the entire arc of the course is. It will be frustrating when you run into those professors who don't give you everything at once. But
Right.
more often, and that happens a lot in high school, but
Yeah.
more often than not in college, you'll get the whole course, and you should document, document, document.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, and I think one of the things you can do that makes it ADHD friendly is to use color coding too when you are putting these
Yes.
things into your system, so that you know that an exam date is colored red. So it has that, it doesn't look the same as a weekly homework assignment. right?
Right.
We need it to jump out at you. So using some color coding, exam dates red, major projects, papers could be orange. Your daily homework or reading assignments could be in a third color that you love, right? Like we want these things to jump out at you. We also want to make sure you know important dates like add and drop and withdraw deadlines. I have found this with my own children, you know, missing those when they probably would have been better off withdrawing from a class
Hmm.
or doing pass, no pass, whatever the options are, right? So knowing when those deadlines are really important. But then also on your calendar, specifically adding your work schedule and other known commitments. If you're in clubs that you know are going to meet every Wednesday, we need that on the calendar because that is not time that's available to you anymore. But if
Hmm.
you don't see it somewhere, you may think it's available and now you've like double booked yourself or you forget to go to the club meeting because it wasn't on your calendar. So we really want to make sure that we're using these tools and updating them and being consistent with them. And one of the things that I do with my students too is I look at when are their study blocks. If you have two classes on campus and there's a 2 hour space there between the two classes, make that a study block and go to the library and study for 2 hours. Like, don't
Yeah.
just, use that time. Think of it as like a job, you don't necessarily
Yes.
have a 2 hour break. Let's get
Yes.
some stuff done. You're already in the study mode, right? You're already on campus, you're in class, like, so really trying to use their time in a way that makes sense.
I love that so much, and I said I had written right after that in our notes. I was like, learning. There's a line between showing up daily and actually building trust with your instructor. Showing up daily
Mhm.
is going to college and going to class, right? Building trust with your instructors is showing up daily, going to class, going to work, which is studying, right, and integrating what you've learned, and going back to class and being able to show that you've integrated and are ready to move on to the next thing, right? To really
Mhm.
show
Mhm.
that your effort is toward long term integration between the stuff that you're given and the stuff that you need to know for your career, for life, for just being a human being. And
Yeah.
there's so much of that that is exciting, but how many freshmen have I seen just watching my own kids go through school,
Mhm.
who treat college as like there's class and then there's all the other social stuff that I'm going to fill in the the blanks with. There's playing
Mhm.
pool and going to the arcade and right,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
you've got to be conscientious and thoughtful
Yeah,
about when you're actually studying. That's the real
absolutely.
job. That's the real
Right.
job of going to school.
Yeah. And that goes into the weekly planning, that we want to try to make a habit, setting time aside every week for you to review the week ahead. Checking those the workbox tools, the inbox tools, changes are happening all the time. Updates happen all the time. Things get postponed. So we have to be really paying attention to that. Excuse me. Edit, make that little mark.
Mhm.
um, one of the other things that I think ADHD brains tend to fall into the all or nothing or the everything is urgent, right? So they may feel that overwhelm that we were talking about earlier, that everything is coming this week. It's so overwhelming. But this is where you want to actually sit down and break down those tasks and those priorities and figure out like what is my next step. If something's not due till Friday, but I've got something due on Wednesday, like you do have to play around with that and figure out like how much time to spend on each thing and get help if you need it, processing this and talking to a roommate or to other ADHDers. There's lots of different supports and things like that in college universities that can help you. But I think even just finding somebody else that they have ADHD, the two of you can like really work together and help each other. So definitely
Yeah.
talking things out can help process that breaking down of the different projects. And I also want people to think about where their best study areas are. And if you're not sure, practice. go to a cafe, go to the library, go to, if it's nice. See, I say that in Oregon because
Yeah, right. It's
if you're in
actually
Arizona,
raining
it's
today.
it's nice all the time. If you're in
Yeah.
Oregon, it's not nice all the time. But, are you going to be outside? Like, where are you less distracted and where are you more distracted? But all of those things can matter in planning, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to plan that I'm going to do this and the length of time that you can focus. 2 hours may be too long. So let's take a break and then go to the library, study for an hour, and then go to your next class. Like, we don't know. We need you to practice and figure that out.
Yeah, for sure.
But it all goes into the weekly planning, right? Of how you're going to spend your time during that week.
Yeah, I think the root of it is for me that college isn't just about the academics. I really want to hammer this
Right.
home. It's about learning how you learn, right? It's that your profs aren't expecting perfection, especially as an undergraduate, right? They're just
Mm-hmm.
expecting you to show up and ask questions and try things that work. One of the things that I think is a misnomer is that your professors don't care what you do as a student, right? That
Mm-hmm.
that if you can skip all your classes, but if you pass the final, good for you.
Right.
And that's great. So you've done performative college. You showed up and you got a grade. What are you going to remember when you left? And
Mm-hmm.
do you think your professor noticed that you were there? I will tell you that day to day, if a student doesn't show up, especially with these modern tools, I absolutely noticed that the students were not showing up. I noticed they weren't participating in the discussions, and I could tell you, I could predict they're going to try to make it up on the final project
Mm-hmm.
or exam. I mean, I can't. I give my time to the people who show up, and those students I didn't care about. I really didn't care. But
Yeah.
did I notice? Absolutely. Did their reputation get impacted for me, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
if they came back to me even after getting an A on a final exam because they're good crammers and they asked me for a reference, I would not give them a reference, right? Reputation matters in college,
Right.
especially college and grad school. And so being able to say you showed up, you did the work, people will notice. People who will matter in your career and in your academic success will notice when you show up. So being able to put some of these things in place, these systems in place so that you stay on top of those relationships, build trust, build, affinity with
Mm-hmm.
these people, it'll matter. It'll pay dividends, huge dividends in the end.
Mm-hmm. Good
Okay,
stuff, Pete.
that's it. That's what I've got.
That's great.
This was fun.
Yeah.
And we've got more coming. What are we doing next week? Was that too much of a tease?
Well,
Daniela is back.
yeah, I don't remember the order that we were doing.
It's
So,
Daniela.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Daniela is going to talk about study strategies and retention and all of those great things.
Yeah, that'll be really good. So,
And then we've got the Brain FM
yep. And then Brain
folks.
FM, the head of science for Brain FM, is going to be with us. And, that's another great investment in college is get
Yes,
yourself some good noise canceling headphones and a subscription to Brain FM. You will appreciate that. Guaranteed.
absolutely.
All right. Hey, thanks everybody for hanging out with us. We appreciate you downloading and listening to the show. Thanks for your time and your attention. Don't forget, if you have something to contribute to the conversation, we're heading over to the Show Talk channel on our Discord server, and you can join us right there by becoming a supporting member at the deluxe level or better. On behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll see you right back here next week on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.
Woo! We got through it.
Okay, I'm
It's
scrolling
funny
up.
because the one that we did last week was an interview, so it felt more structured, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you kind of led it, so I just was sort of in the background. But then we get onto this, and I'm like, "Yeah, we haven't podcasted in 2 months.
I know, you can
Like,
feel it.
it's
You can feel
obvious."
it. Right. Training wheels.
Uh,
Mhm.
so sorry, you're going to have more editing that you have to do.
That's all right. It's all right. Let's see. We're in Echo. Too many tabs. Enter one tab. Huge game changer for my browsing game. Excellent. Thank you, Melissa, for the endorsement. I will say you don't want to get category overwhelmed when you get into it. Tags everywhere. Well, that's true. It's the fine line. You can over categorize. Broad
For sure.
buckets are helpful. Um,
Oh,
the
I
whole
like what Jacques
structure
said.
idea follows my
Yeah.
number one tool for managing potential ADHD burnout: offloading.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah. If there's a place I know I will deal with it, either because it's a routine or because I'll be reminded when necessary, I can offload it from my brain for sure.
Yep.
And that goes back to the importance of having a system that you trust and that you're in every single day, right?
Yep.
That you're forced. It's the app that you never close. It's just always
Yes.
open on your desktop.
Look at those toes.
I know, very fancy toes. Yeah, I have a lot of demand avoidance, which can pull the rug out randomly. Yeah, that's true. Although, like what you find, especially when you get dopamine productive again, is that if you have a good system, you can rebuild that system easily. If you don't ever get yourself in a place where you have a system, those rug pulls can be truly devastating.
Yeah.
Though Pete talking about adjunct professors feels a bit on the nose as someone who's adjuncted once in a day job. Jacques, I feel you. I feel you. I wonder how you execute when everything says no. Do you want to comment on that
I'm not sure what
mentally?
it means. Do you? I wonder how you execute when everything says no. Because I would think everything is saying yes, and so you want to do everything,
Well,
but I'm not sure.
that's the other side of it is that you sit there and you stare at the list of tasks, and what your brain is saying is, I'm in. I'm frozen.
Oh, so
I
just
can't do anything. That's how I'm
right.
interpreting this for sure.
Okay. Well, I think that that's the breaking the things down. I think that that goes from what we were saying before in the very first question is that reframing overwhelm, reframing that what is this what is this list and start like even comparing instead of looking at the list at all 10 things, but like
Hmm.
just 1 and 2. If I just look at 1 and 2, where should my
Yeah.
attention go? Well, 1. Okay, then I can offload 2,
Yeah.
right? Like maybe just starting to kind of reframe what's happening. But
Yeah.
you also may
Right.
need to take a break too. You may need to like stop staring at it
For
and
sure.
go exercise and walk around the block and then come back, right? Because we
Yeah.
almost want to get out of the environment that's keeping you stuck just to get out of it.
Yeah. For sure.
Mhm.
Oh, Melissa, I hate it. Most
Oh,
of the
try
teachers
again
that,
later. Yeah.
yeah. But don't underestimate the value of just clean oxygen, right? If you're stuck in a library for a long time, go outside and take a bunch of deep breaths and then go in and try it again. Like just
Yeah.
sometimes clearing out the respiratory system is really useful and rejuvenating.
Yep.
Um,
You wanna
Most of the
know what I
teachers,
did before this podcast?
did
Because
you
I
walk
was
around
tired?
and rejuvenate?
I listened to one of my favorite songs, and then I took my little 5-pound weights and I did some weights
Oh, good for you.
just to get my energy up because when I came into the computer, I'm like, "I'm tired."
Yeah.
Like, I can't podcast when I'm tired. So,
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes you gotta I mean, this was just for energy wise, but that can help when you feel stuck too.
How does one organize personal away from the education so that you can see the compromise that is demanded? Systems question.
Um, how far down are you so I can read the
I'm
question?
below the take 3 action picture. This is Angela at
Oh, okay.
925.
Got it. So how does one organize personal away from the education? Well, I think you have to I don't think you do it away from it. They're together. So when I'm helping a college student plan, yes, the first thing we're looking at are when are your classes, what is due this week, where are your study blocks, but then when are you working and what are you doing this weekend? So that we can figure out like what if the study blocks make sense over the weekend. I mean, so I think that they all come together. You have to kind of you may not yeah, I think they merge. I just it's in the same conversation.
Yeah, I mean it's the same thing we talk about with calendars for work and personal life, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the you go to work, you have your Outlook calendar, you go home, you have your Google Calendar, and what do you do when you have a dentist appointment? Well, you have to remember how to enter it twice. That's why we always advocate for where you have systems and organizations that allow it, having an integrated calendar so you can see in one view maybe a different color calendar that indicates this is your personal and a different color for work. The same thing goes for education, right? And you can do that with one calendar using color coding, or you can have different accounts, right? In Gmail, a lot of institutions use Google for education. They'll give you a a Google account for school, and you'll have a Gmail account for personal, and you add them both to your computer or your phone, and you'll see both calendars together, and they can be different colors. And then you can see where your priorities start to overlap, right? You can see
Mm-hmm.
that I have a class on top of this work schedule. Well, I have to change the work schedule. And you have to do that. That's where the compromise lives. Yeah, and so
Mm-hmm.
I think, separating church and state from, by having different accounts does allow you to hide the entire universe of school or
Right.
the entire universe of personal. But most of the time, you are going to want to see them integrated to be able to see the compromise, the
You
opportunity
really
cost.
do, especially with ADHD, because I just think of like my daughter, and if she had two different places to look all the time, she's going to be missing things all the time,
Hmm.
you know?
All the time.
So, yeah, they really do have to somehow be able to be seen together.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
it also is a good visual way too to see, like, are you taking too many classes? Maybe instead of taking 4 classes, you're only going to take 3, or instead of working full time, you're going to work 30 hours a week so that you have a day that you can, you know what I mean? Like, it also kind of makes you see the time and figure out if you're in the right workload
Yeah,
and education load.
for sure. Um, this here's another one from Jacques that I think is an important automation question. A lot of the syllabus is required background info, rules, resources, Canvas/Blackboard, etc. Usually have the information on specific due dates. I don't know how many of these learning management systems interface with email or task management systems or apps, but if it's possible, or if you can Zapier a process, that would be huge and could provide a backup if the manual entry breaks down. Yes, yes, yes. Now, Canvas and Blackboard, I think Canvas does allow you to see. I'm not 100% sure of this. Uh, Canvas and Blackboard don't offer Zapier integrations. Moodle does. So you can turn on a Zap to connect Moodle to Notion, to Todoist, whatever you want. That works, and that's not a heavy lift technically.
Mhm.
Like that's a pretty straightforward thing to do. Canvas and Blackboard, I think Blackboard's one of the worst in terms of just integrations, but I think Canvas does let you, because you'll be signed in with your school account. And so I
Right.
think there's yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. That's way too technical for me.
yeah. That'll require a little bit more work
Yeah.
thinking through. But I do know that, of them all, if you're in a Moodle school, you can do the Zap. That's the easiest. I want an episode on socialization outside of structure because that is a minefield. Interesting. We'll think about that. Thank you, Angela.
I'm confused what that means. On an episode on socialization outside of structure. Explain that to me.
Well, I would need Angela to explain that more thoroughly. I see it as a like here's the structure of academics, but also how do you maintain a social life?
Oh. Mm,
Think
mhm.
about that. The other question is, I wonder if you got Obsidian, the college
Balance.
experience. Obsidian is the personal
Yeah.
knowledge management (PKM), and yes, you can. And that's one of the things I like about Obsidian the most. It is effectively a wiki, and you can do this with Notion. You can do it with Coda, but Obsidian is my tool of choice, where you can set up notes, take notes in it, connect to those notes anytime, so you can build essentially a web of your entire college experience. Create a new clean vault, start from day one, and put everything in Obsidian, and you will have a rich, rich, rich system of everything you've learned. It's wonderful. Um,
Melissa, 2-hour break between classes, heading to my car to take a nap.
Noted. Yes, for sure. Oh, Pete. My dopamine died with opioid use for 15 years. I'm in dope recovery. Oh, Angela. Okay. Dopamine productivity is not your jam. My heart goes out to you. Let's see. All these calendars are
Break equals opportunity.
Angela, I'm in class. I know the social customs. Now I have to meet these people around the place. And what do you do when thrown into that environment at 18? Yeah.
Okay, where are you reading this
The
now?
very newest thing. That's the newest comment.
I know the social customs now. I have to meet these people around the place. And what do you do when thrown into that environment at 18?
Yeah.
It's young. They're young babies, aren't
They're
they?
babies. I know.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. That's a worthy conversation. That might be a Caroline question, right?
yeah.
A good Caroline McGuire question. I think that'd be a rich topic. Socialization in college. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a balance.
Yeah.
It's a balance because you want both, right? I mean, I want my kids to experience all of that, all of it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. This was fun, you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Episode 1 of season 31 is in the bag.
Yes.
And,
after many edits.
Many edits.
And retakes.
I got to get to work. All right, guys. I'm hanging up the live stream. We'll see you in Discord. Thank you.